And welcome back to Ozarks Live. It is time for Joy's Book Club once again. And here with me today is none other than my good friend, Conrad. It's great to see you. How have you been?
Yeah, it's great to see you. I've been great.
Doing a lot of reading?
I am doing a fair amount of reading. I mean, even though the library is open now and I have to go back to work.
Yes.
I'm still reading and finding some great books.
Exactly. Keeping us up on what we should be reading. All right, we're going to start with this one right here. What is this called? Hoodoo?
Yeah, Hoodoo by Ronald L. Smith. So this is one of the middle grade selections for the Horror Writers Association's annual summer reading initiative, Summer Scares.
Right.
And so it takes place in Alabama in the 1930s, and it follows 12-year-old Hoodoo Hatcher, who comes from a magical family with a long line of conjurers. But even though his name is Hoodoo, he is not yet able to conjure magic himself. He's also an orphan, and all he knows about his dad is that his dad was a great conjurer and that he met a bad end. And then one day, this man called the Stranger shows up in town looking to collect a debt that Hoodoo's father left when he died. And so the Stranger's powers kind of end up putting the whole town in jeopardy, and only Hoodoo is strong enough to beat the Stranger, but he has to kind of find that power inside himself first. So it's a really great, like, coming-of-age story that's also about, you know, about family and about sort of finding that magic within yourself that exists.
Okay, good stuff. Some of those middle reader books, those young adult books are really, really interesting. This genre has come a long way in the last few years. All right, the next one here, The Only Good Indians.
Yes, by Stephen Graham Jones. I'm super excited about this book because Jones is actually going to be doing a virtual event for the library tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Really?
So, and if you're interested in attending, you can just go to thelibrary.org/programs, and you can find a link for the Zoom meeting. But I'll be interviewing him, so that's exciting.
Oh, how nice. So you're not going to get the book read unless you've started by then, but you can still do the event. So what's it about?
Yeah, so basically it follows 4 friends from the Blackfeet Indian tribe who decide to go hunting one night on land reserved for the tribal elders, and they stumble upon this entire herd of elk, and they end up killing a lot of them, including this pregnant cow elk. And so you kind of jump to 10 years later, and not only are the friends haunted by what happened that night, they're haunted by the guilt some of them feel about leaving the reservation to have a different life, but they're also literally being haunted and hunted by the spirit of this cow elk. And the question is, will any of them survive? Oh. So,
wow, that's kind of deep. Yeah. Okay. Kind of out there, but kind of deep, too. Yeah. Interesting. And that'll be a really interesting. And tomorrow night, that's at what time?
At 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock. Yeah. So I'll be chatting with him. It'll be about an hour long, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's one of those authors that maybe not everyone is familiar with, but that like everyone should be familiar with, because NPR called him one of the best writers working today, regardless of genre. And he's been called the Jordan Peele of horror literature. Really? Even though he's been around much longer than Jordan Peele. I'm intrigued. But he's very big, and this is a really buzzy book right now. Good stuff. All right, we have a third one for us. We got a little less than a minute. What's this one about? Yeah, The House by the Cerulean Sea. This is a little bit lighter. It's basically set at an orphanage for magical children. And so there's a wood sprite, there's a gnome, there's a shapeshifter. And so we see these kids through the eyes of Linus Baker, who's a caseworker assigned to investigate the orphanage's headmaster. But over the course of the book, he falls in love with the kids and sees that some of the rules and regulations in place are kind of hurting them, so he ends up fighting on behalf of the orphanage. So it's kind of about like how you know, what makes us different from each other is really what makes us great and interesting, and how rewarding it can be to open yourself up to new people. So it's just like a fun, charming, really character-driven read that, you know, is a lot lighter than the other choices. It sounds like it is. It sounds like it's another good one. So The House on the Cerulean Sea. I gotta get my contacts figured out. I've just got to. Anyway, Conrad from the library, thelibrary.org. Yes, thelibrary.org. You can get the best URL in the world for libraries. I mean, you know, how do we get so lucky? I know, thelibrary.org, and it's ours. Anyway, good to see you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Good to see you, All right, good stuff. Now, later in the show, we're going to hear what the Boys and Girls Clubs of Springfield have planned for the upcoming school year. But next, we're going to see what's going on over at F5 storm shelters. We'll be right back.